Hello friends!
Hello!
And welcome to this special little Borgcast, looking at the first episode of Lower Decks, which we promised we'd do once it was legally viewable in this country, which it was for, 2 hours, maybe 3?
Like that.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Thank you to Llama God for raising our awareness of it. And yes, you could watch it via YouTube. CBS, the parent company, put it up there. They obviously accidentally put it viewable in all regions, and then later corrected that, because they hate us, apparently.
Oh, don't.
I mean,
It's supposed to be the World Wide Web.
Mm-hmm.
Everything should always be simultaneously released everywhere.
It is stupid. And it's not like we wouldn't spend money on having the CBS channel, because it's like the Star Trek channel. Duh, It's a no-brainer. But we can't. So instead we have to watch some stuff on Netflix, some on Amazon, and some stuff we can't see at all, because, they fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, not dwelling on that purely, but looking at the actual story itself, there were good things about it.
I like the animation style.
I like some of the animation style. Specifically, I liked the tech, the way the spaceships moved.
Yeah.
I thought it was far better than you see in Futurama, which is always a bit, I know you don't see in depth, but this was a lot smoother. And the tech, it looked a bit like sort of they traced over effect shots, really. It looked that good. What I don't like is the jerky movement of all the characters, which they can't move smoothly at all. They have to be all arms and legs everywhere all the time. Simpsons did that occasionally. It was usually because, Homer was having some sort of a fit. And because they did it occasionally, it had nice dramatic effect. But this modern style of animation is just stupid.
Didn't bother me, that.
But it is nice and bright. I like the colour schemes.
Yeah.
It's very TNG in that respect, isn't it?
Yeah.
It has that feel about it.
But I think also I like the fact that each character is very individual.
Uh-huh.
You're not at any point going to get your characters mixed up.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, you can't really judge it because it's only just the first one. But in terms of characters, they're all very one-dimensional at the moment. But then again, that's because we've only spent 20 minutes in their company, so you can't really complain. But
in terms of the design, I mean, each character design is very individual.
Yeah,
it's easy to pick them out one from another.
Uh-huh.
And I did genuinely like the way it looked. I like the starship. I find it amusing. I think it makes me think of a curling iron or something. But
it's not bad, and they have. There's at one point they show the plan of the ship.
Yeah.
Sort of cutaway, and there's clearly a turbo lift that goes all the way down the pylons.
There is. And I love it as ops, more ops. We've got lots of ops.
Yeah.
Which I like. I found the opening credits amusing, just seeing it basically does a whole load of fuck-ups, doesn't it?
To be honest, that was the funniest bit of the entire story, was because it was very much taking the opening credits of Voyager with its gracefulness and going through various different environments, but it all going horribly wrong every time.
Like
that I really like. I think, unfortunately, they peaked a bit early with that, really, but there we go.
Do you know what it reminded me of?
Wow.
That short trek with where you saw all those callbacks. And,
yeah.
And was it with the one with the tardigrade in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it reminded me of that, actually.
But unlike that, it wasn't riven with continuity errors.
No.
And they seemed to, just judging by this episode, they seem to have somebody there who's actually seen the series several times and knows which things they can and can't insert. So that's good.
So I like that. The plot.
Well.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't think they're aiming for plot, really, are they? That's the thing. It's just supposed to be a bunch of crazy things that happens.
Yeah, but even so, it's like I guess that Mariner was the captain's daughter.
And a Badmiral for a dad as well. There you go.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know, doesn't work for me personally.
And then it's all sort of like, no, she's your daughter, and then she's clearly been demoted. Well, if she's grown up, it doesn't matter whose fucking daughter she is, fuck off. And if she's still a child, what the fuck are you doing? Is she the new Wesley Crusher now? Yeah,
exactly. It's very the way that they're all presented as, basically crazy teenagers.
Oh.
It's a bit, yeah.
Although, it did, the whole thing was like unnecessarily fast, loud and obnoxious, so they're like a whole load of teenagers on YouTube.
Yeah, but then all the senior officers are exactly the same as well. There's and they're no less stupid.
No.
I mean, if it was just like the Lower Decks characters that were the silly, foolish ones because they were like teenage, that would, I suppose, be partly understandable. Although you would kind of hope that Starfleet would be a bit more competent than that, but they're clearly not in this anyway.
And it's what is it? The USS Doritos or something?
Cerritos.
Yeah, I called it the Doritos.
Yeah, the ship design has already grown on me, so that's good news at least. But yeah. I also like the shuttles were nice, in keeping with the era. They even had some buggies from the Argo, which interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the basic concept of looking at the lower decks characters on a ship, not only that, but on a ship that does the second contact stuff. So it's not like, it's in some ways, and you're going to punch me for this, I know, but it's similar to the DS9 setup in that these aren't the typical heroic, perfect characters that were presented in Trek before then. These are, rather more fallible, and they're not the creme de la creme. There are a few rungs down.
They're the dregs.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be that, but anyway. But yes, it does stretch credulity that they can be as incompetent as they are, so...
Yeah, it's like they've got a ship of Barclays or something.
Yeah, but worse.
As and when there's another episode to watch, I'll watch it, because...
Yeah,
a pilot doesn't... first episode doesn't always quite land right, and I always like to give things a decent chance.
I mean, it has to be said, it wasn't... If it was aiming for funny, it wasn't laugh-out-loud funny, was it? It had a couple of funny... The credits, to say, were the funniest bits. Oh, we also liked the Bajoran security guard carrying, what's his name, Bemler or something like that, isn't he? One of the Boimler, that's it. Carrying him on his shoulder, all covered in gook. I mean, that was a funny look. And I must admit, the Bajoran security guy seems like a really interesting character that I'd be willing to watch a lot more of, just because he's clearly got lots of repressed rage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the main thing I think, if something was going to really put me off this, is either there wouldn't be any character I liked, and I like the Green Lady.
Yes, she the medic line. Yes, she was the nicest character, because that's the other thing, that the others were skirted a bit too closely to obnoxious a lot of the time. And also the engineering chap with the implant.
The cyborg, yeah.
I mean, the implant was stupid.
Yes.
But himself, he was fine. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the two things that really would have put me off was if I didn't like any character at all, and that didn't happen, or if I really couldn't get on with the animation style, and I like the animation style. So it's enough to make me want to watch the second episode, but how I'll feel after that second episode really depends on whether there's actually any character development or plot, because I'm not sure this had either.
Well, yeah, but again, for a pilot, you're not really going to be able to judge.
But that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, if the characters develop and grow on you, then you'll look back just in the same way as Next Generation. You look back at the early stuff and go, yeah, all right, that was a bit rough around the edges, but we can see how we got from A to B, and therefore it's a satisfying journey.
Yeah.
But they might not bother with that because it's animation and they're just trying to make us laugh. I don't quite know what they...
But then, you get character development in The Simpsons, even though they don't grow old.
Yes, it's true. Simpsons. I mean, I suppose we ought to be comparing this to Futurama. I mean, in some ways, it seems like an entire crew of basically Fry, which is probably not very Starfleet, but there we go.
No.
But the problem with Futurama was that it didn't really do character development. It just occasionally it made you feel really sorry for Fry, and because he'd had something horrible happen to him. Or there'd be something with him and Leela. Well, Leela got a bit of character development.
Yeah, she did.
But I don't know, it was all a bit slapped on with a trowel when they did it, rather than it being, it was like, oh, this is one of those episodes, rather than this is, as opposed to all the other comedy ones. But anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it, is the bottom line. I wasn't massively keen on it, but...
No. I was indifferent to it, but, that's okay. I did, like you said, I didn't hate it. It's the sort of thing that I wouldn't be paying money for, personally, at this stage.
No, I wouldn't be rushing out. I mean, if the only way we get to see it is if they do a Blu-ray. No, sorry, I'm not forking out 14 quid to watch this on Blu-ray.
No. But, if it's something that does come to the UK for free, yes, I will want to watch the second episode.
Yeah, it's just a question of, it won't come for free, will it? So.
No, as in on Netflix or Amazon.
Yeah, well, that's not free then, is it, Dylan?
No, we're already paying for those. As in, I'm not paying more money for a new thing.
Yeah, we shall see.
See what happens, but it was all right.
All right.
What did other people think? Do they think it was all right?
Well, Thomas McCambley had this to say. I quite enjoyed the first episode, and even more on successive rewatches. The laughs were easier. I think it's because we're so used to thinking of Trek as a serious moralistic action adventure, we forget that comedy can encompass all that as well. Maybe not the serious, but I think my point stands. I want to see more of our young ensigns and how they explore the sometimes patently ridiculous nature of Starfleet exploration. Flying vomit, swarming macroviruses, and male chief engineers becoming pregnant, etc. Which is, again, there's very much the sort of season 8 approach of just throwing those ideas out. I think the problem is I'm not sure that they stretch over 20 minutes, but there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Glad
you.
you enjoyed it.
Yes. What did the llama god make of this?
Lagertag, Scotty, Fiken, Och, Trieg. I'm getting too old for this. Alright then, Star Trek Lower Decks, let's start with the obvious thing. It's loud, isn't it? It's loud animation, it's that loud style like Rick and Morty. It's very loud, and as Joe pointed out, only 5 minutes into the first episode, which is the one I'm covering here, of course, it's very tiring. It's so very tiring. Everything's very loud and very fast, and am I just old? Am I out of touch? No, it's the kids that are out of touch. But yeah, does this style of animation, this style of humour, does it suit Star Trek? I don't know. I mean, Star Trek has had its comedy episodes, hasn't it? And I think there's something to be said for playing Star Trek, which can be quite faced. There's something to be said for playing it straight. I mean, I might appreciate an airplane-style comedy more than this rather loud current form of comedy. But we'll see. I guess we can just be grateful that each episode is no more than 25 minutes long, because anything more than that, and yeah, I'd think I'd die. On the plus side, though, it's not unfunny, and it's actually very affectionate. It seems to have a lot of affection for the Next Generation era Star Trek. There's nothing crude in this. There's no poking jabs at, people being geeks and liking this stuff and how this is all nonsense. No, it's all humour based in the setup of the Federation itself. The whole notion of second contact and all the scenarios that the crew encounter in this episode, yeah, they are very much a look at what their second stringers do, not just even the Lower Decks crew, but the ship itself is a second string ship. It's not, out doing the exploration like the Enterprise. This is the ship that comes and does the cleanup. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, and it makes sense that you play this sort of thing for the comedy. So in terms of the setup, I don't dislike it. The characters, yeah, I mean, I'm not really warming to very many of them so far, because they're all indistinguishable and loud. I kind of like the cyborg guy, because his day going horribly wrong when he gets excited by the ship systems. I mean, that's very reminiscent of Geordie, isn't it? But otherwise, again, it's a case of we'll see where this goes. I like the ship itself as well. I mean, yes, it's got the complete lack of neck, so which means you have to walk through the warp nacelles to get to the engineering section. But, that was the same issue with the Grissom in Star Trek 3 as well. And actually, I think fans didn't like that one either. But who cares? The ship's a bit ridiculous, but that kind of fits the cartoon vibe anyway. And, it's well realised, so I'll go with it. I'm going to allow it for now. And the inside looks really good as well, so I like that. I like the fact that the ensign quarters get a view out the back of the ship. I know it's supposed to be a bit derogatory because they're sitting out the back as opposed to the front, but they're seeing where they've been, not where they're going. But, that's a nice view. I wouldn't mind that myself either. So, yeah, in all, as a basic, quick summary judgment of this first episode, I mean, this was entertaining enough. Tiring, but entertaining. We need to see if there are going to be enough different entertaining scenarios to fill out a whole season's worth of this. And more to the point, whether it's got enough to say, given what it's satirising, given that there's enough of that they can use to fill an entire season's worth of content as well. I mean, given that things like Star Trek Deep Space Nine did the satire of our current 20th, 21st century economy so well in the shape of the Ferengi and, all sorts of other illusions that they drew. So, yeah, this really needs to find something to comment on, and if it doesn't, it could just be a bit of a hollow series, which, admittedly, as I say, will be an affectionate, fun look at Star Trek, but if it doesn't have anything to say, then there might not be a point. But for the moment, I'm going to give it a go, and the showrunners seem to think they've got something good coming up towards the end of the season, so I'm going to keep watching. So I'll be interested to hear what you and everyone else makes of this one, or at least those that actually feed in. I'll be very interested to see whether you made it into this episode or not, and I guess if more become available in non-American territories, then I guess we'll feedback some more. Until then, glory to you, Unicast!
Yeah, it certainly is affectionate, so there's something nasty in there, and yes, it's treating Trek with respect and continuity, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's just a bit, as he said, a bit loud and fast and...
Yeah, it's tiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then that might be what they tried to do deliberately for the opening episode.
Yeah, they might be trying to grab your attention.
Yeah, it might not necessarily be reflective of the series as a whole.
And like you say, if the characters progress and, they've put some depth and love into the characters rather than them just being... Ciphers with just one or two quirks about them, then,
yeah.
Be worth it.
Yeah. And you're right, it is a second string ship doing second string things. I mean, maybe Riker could have commanded a ship like this.
Maybe.
But not Chakotay.
We've also heard from Puri.
Hello, Args. Puri here to talk about Lower Decks Episode 1. Sorry. Bit impromptu, forgot to record last night, so you're getting kind of a first thing in the morning recording, just before I actually send the kids off to school. I actually quite enjoyed this. I think this first episode set out the concept which I'm looking for in a Lower Decks series. I like the idea, for example, that this is not the best ship in the fleet, but it's kind of a support ship. So this is kind of the ship that you might see in the first 20 seconds of an episode with Enterprise going in. We have rendezvoused with the USS Cerritos to transfer over some vital equipment before we go on and actually have the adventure. So I like that idea. Or it's the ship that is scheduled to turn up at the end after they've done whatever they did with the planet. I thought that was quite a good concept, and that's something that I'd like to see more of in the series, and that was what I was looking for in this series. The other thing is that it's not the best crew. This is not Starfleet's best and brightest. We have seen that they're maybe not the most professional crew that we've seen. Even from the senior officers, I do like. I really like the security chief at the moment with his constant wanting to destroy everything. I think he's quite fun, and we also have this idea of we're seeing stuff that's happening in the background of an episode. So that was the really good feel I got from this one, was that what we were seeing was what's going on in the background. Technically, there's a TNG episode, or a sort of Star Trek episode happening, but we're not following the main thread of it. We're kind of following some of the people in the background who are, fighting off, sort of black goo zombies, or, down on the planet, or that sort of thing. It's stuff that's going on while the story's happening. And I think if they lean into this concept of there will be an adventure going on, maybe not every episode, but there'll be an adventure going on with the crew, and the main crew dealing with it, and it'll kind of tangentially come into contact with our lower decks people. I think that could be fun. Characters, I'm not too sure about yet. As I say, still getting the feel of them. I think our main two will take a bit of getting used to, and I think one of the issues we're always going to have with a comedy series is humour is a very subjective thing, and ultimately, I think I actually really enjoyed it. I got some good laughs out of this. But I can completely understand if the humour didn't get to people, or the fast paced, or just the, it's my wife's got the similar thing. When she sees stuff like this, she didn't see Lower Decks, but with this sort of thing, she just can't focus on the people just going. That's her view, and so that switches her off. It's why she can never enjoy South Park, and so it's so I could see that again with humour you're going to lose a lot of people. It's actually a lot easier to make a drama, is to make a comedy show. Because ultimately in humour, if the jokes don't hit, no one's, if the jokes don't work for you, people don't go. But so far, actually, I've been enjoying it, and I quite like the half-hourly thing. I also have to put a shout-out to the opening sequence. I absolutely love the opening sequence, just as a kind of parody of Trek opening sequences, with the ship constantly bumping into stuff, or the favourite where it sees the big battle with the Borg and just goes, nope, and turns around. So overall, I enjoyed the first episode. I think it's showing promise for me. So I think I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this series pans out, and hopefully that they stick to the concept. Again, there's quite a few people saying they hope it goes the way of the Orville, where it starts with a comedy but it becomes a serious drama. And no, you know what? I'd actually like it to just be a comedy, just something silly. It might mean it only lasts for a season, because there might only be so much they can mine from it, but that's it. So all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I always look forward to your podcast, and I'll feedback whenever CBS accidentally release another episode of Lower Decks on YouTube. But until then, bye for now.
Yes, the state of existence we're in at the moment. It's a good job this isn't our only podcast.
Yeah.
This does, of course, mean thanks to CBS I'm back to bloody Star Trek 5 in a couple of weeks' time. Bastard! Anyway,
Nobody's making you.
Yes, they are. CBS. I'm blaming CBS for this now. It started with a lockdown, and now it's CBS.
Yeah, but you could have stopped.
But I couldn't. That's just it. Anyway, I mean, if it is just a comedy thing, then all the best comedy stuff has character development.
Yeah.
I mean, my favourite comedy of all time, Cheers, works despite the lack of spaceships, just because you see the characters develop and you explore more things about them. And yes, they're the same group of people in the bar every night, but actually new things ping off every time. So.
And Red Dwarf is a...
Yes, the Red Dwarf's at its best when you're exploring new things about the characters.
Yeah.
Where they're just retreading old catch lines.
It doesn't work.
It feels more out,
Yeah.
So, perhaps it could last for a season. I just don't think I would last the entire season if it was just this.
Yeah.
It needs to be a little more than that.
Yeah, but...
For me. Anyway.
Same here, but it might be that this first episode was all deliberately in your face to grab you.
Yeah.
Could be. And I think I'm with your wife actually. It's all a bit...
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Now, as we recorded, we received an email from Andy.
Ooh.
Hello, Orgs. Just the emergency podcast hologram here, piping up with my thoughts on Star Trek Lower Decks. I for one really enjoyed it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's set out to do exactly what it says on the tin. It's a comedic animated Star Trek show. It's very funny. It's very much in the vein of shows such as Rick and Morty, Final Space, I suppose BoJack Horseman. You know, we're kind of a more one step removed from Family Guy, and if that's your thing, that's great. If you don't get on with it, you're probably not going to get on with this show. But, you know, I really enjoyed it. I love being back in this around TNG era of space. I think the USS Cerritos is a really interesting looking design with lots of lovely design cues off the Galaxy class. I like the cast we've seen so far. It kind of had me from the moment we saw the opening titles. You know, from that minute I was hooked, and I'm like, yes, I'm on board for this. Obviously, there's no possible way that we could have legally seen anything more than the first episode during that very brief window that was available. But if I was to speculate and to perhaps, you know, just guess, I suspect I might enjoy the second episode more, which is just a bit less frantic. Of course, I'm only speculating here, but I certainly felt that the second episode was a better sense of what the show could be. At least that's what I would think if I could possibly have legally seen that second episode, but clearly I haven't, so I couldn't possibly say. But look, I'm on board. I think it's great. I think it's nice that it's very different from what we've seen in Discovery and Picard. It's certainly a lot more watchable than Star Trek, the animated series, and yeah, I am here for this. I'm looking forward to more. So yeah, that's the Emergency Podcast hologram, signing off.
Yes.
Yeah.
It clearly doesn't stand any comparison to the animated series because that's quite its own thing, really.
Yeah. We only ever watched that drunk.
We did, and I think that was the best way to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, there were some good stories there. Don't get me
were.
wrong, and actually, some of the characters got to do things that the more minor characters got things.
Uhura got some great stories in it.
So
but then there wasn't that one where there was that person who could divide themselves in half.
Yeah, it did get very silly at times, and the animation was not as proficient as the animation in this.
No.
I think it's fair to say.
No.
I might not like the jerky style in this, but at least things actually move, other than when they're in silhouette. And yeah, you've got an inkling that episode 2 might be better, which is a real tease, isn't it? Because we can't actually technically see it yet legally. Yeah. So we won't be broadcasting on this again until somebody at CBS accidentally
allows it.
Uploads it to YouTube without regionalising it again. Yay! Really?
Well, mind you, I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised if CBS only ever intended to upload episode 1.
Yes, it was clear that, but they also obviously only intended to do it for viewers in the United States, and then realised their mistake and corrected it. Because there's no deal. I mean, presumably they're in the midst of making deals at the moment, in which case it was clearly a stupid thing to upload it. You know, they may have scotched any sort of deal that was in the making, potentially. So that's presumably...
So what you do is you wait until you've got all your deals and then you release it.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody was supposing, because originally the show wasn't going to air until after season 3 of Discovery, but of course it being an animated thing, it could carry on being made in a way that Discovery couldn't quite so easily. So hence this has ended up coming out first. So they're slightly caught with their pants down when it came to making deals with showing it elsewhere. So, I mean, I was hoping that they were going to put it up in order to prove that look at the number of hits on this in the UK and wherever. Yeah. Clearly it's going to have a universal, because it's Trek.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to prove that really, but no, apparently not, because they then shut it down in no time flat.
Oh, ridiculous.
Well, so yes, we will be podcasting about this again.
We just don't know when.
I will give this its own season number, but yes, episode 2. Heaven knows when episode 2 of this particular season of Borgcast will be arriving in your ears. But there we are. It does mean that yes, indeed, in 2 weeks' time, I shall be once more travelling to the final frontier, and I've got quite an adventurous one lined up for the next one, to say the least. So it'll be interesting to see if I can get the technology to work for that. But I won't drop any more subtle hints about that just yet. And, of course, next week there will be a Borgcast Galactica episode going up. Yay. But in the meantime, thank you to everybody who fed back.
Thank you.
We're interested enough in this to cover the rest of the season as and when we can. But until such time as we return to the lower decks, we'll catch you in the next What Does God Need with a podcast.
Well, you will.
Yes.
I'm not going anywhere near
And
that.
then season 3 of Discovery, you'll get us both.
Yes.
Huzzah! Cheerio, bye.
Bye.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
We have a Facebook group which you're welcome to join.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Shut it down!